All right, survivors, things are getting wild, dude. Somebody just dropped 5 grand, dude. Yeah, $5,000 on the ARK Survival Ascended creature voting, all in favor of the Quetzal. Let's talk about why I don't think this $5,000 bird is worthy of the TLC. So for starters here, the Quetzal is not broken. Yes, it is 2025, and yes, we've had a megaton of flyers come out since the Quetzal was released in ASE, but the thing still has a massive unique utility that no other creature or bird even has inside of the game. The dossier literally says it's a mass carrier, and it is exactly that. This guy literally lets you build a small outpost base on its back, right, and fly it across the map. Anywhere you need to go, you essentially have your base at your disposal. You can utilize it for crafting benches. You can use it to repair gear on the fly. You can use it to store tons and hundreds of resources across storage boxes. You also, on top of that, can use it for bed respawns, right? So if you guys happen to die while you're out and about, you can use it to build big giant traps to capture other birds, you know, in the sky, especially with the new update here recently with babies being added into the game for flyers. I mean, you name it, I still think it serves a massive utility that nothing else really does in the game. And I can't help but laugh at some of the arguments that people have put out there on why the Quetzal deserves a TLC. One of the biggest ones for some reason is the way it looks, right? The way it looks or the way it stands on the ground when it's not airborne. And although all of those things, sure, I would agree, it does look a little outdated, right? Like as far as, you know, the cosmetically, and maybe it would look cooler if it stood up like it does in its dossier on the ground versus how it's kind of squatted over, you know, a little bit more spread out and stuff, if you will. And another big argument that I have seen relates to how fast or how slow it flies, right? People have complained that, yeah, you can build a base and, you know, carry resources and tames and traps and stuff, but it's just way too slow, right? It's just not efficient, you know what I mean? As flying a pterodon or an RG or, you know, even something like the Rhino, right? Like, I get all of that, but again, I just don't think any of those things are worthy of a full TLC. In my opinion, when it comes to the TLC, right, the ability to completely rework how a creature functions and acts and, you know, give it new mechanics, you know, on top of even new looks and stuff, I personally think it needs to be a, you know, creature that is utterly useless, right? Like, to every single survivor, there's no reason for you guys to tame this creature, you know, across the board, right? It doesn't offer any special utility. Everything else in its class, you know, completely overshadows it. I mean, you name it, right? It needs to be a creature that is useless and provides no value whatsoever. And this is where I present to you my candidate that I think is way more worthy of this TLC, and that is the Carno. In the dossier here, Helena basically defines the Carno as the cheetah of ARK, right? It basically talks about how it's fast, aggressive, bridges the gap between the Raptor and the Rex. And clearly right now in ASA, that is far from the truth here. The Carno is massively irrelevant. Not only do you have the saddle unlocking way later here for survivors, and by the time the survivor does actually get to that level to unlock the saddle for the Carno, it's completely worthless at that point in the stage they are in the game. And not to mention, it's completely outclassed by every other creature in its tier. I mean, we've got the Allosaurus, right, that has the pack buffs and the bleed. We've got the Yudi, which has the buff in the entire army. We've got the Ceratosaurus, which is, you know, newer than some of the other ones, but even then, it brings in the venom. You've got the bleed and insane aggression, along with even heals that can be provided. I mean, in general, the Carno cannot compete with any of these. It's not really an early game tame because of the saddle. It's not a late game tame because you have all these other better options. I mean, in general, the Carno doesn't really have a role. People are going to pick up on utilizing faster mounts like the Raptor, for instance, early game until they can get themselves a flyer, let's be honest. And then beyond that, they're going to be starting to move towards bigger and better, you know, carnivorous dinos outside of the Carno, because again, the Carno just doesn't offer anything unique. And now look, I totally get it here. When it comes to the Quetzal, I mean, it is iconic, right? And when you think of like prehistoric, you know, dinos and creatures as a kid and stuff, like, I mean, the Quetzal does come to mind. And because of that nostalgia take, I believe that's why a lot of people are leaning so hard and heavy into the Quetzal getting a rework. But in my personal opinion, I just don't think that it's worthy of the full TLC, because it still provides provide some very valuable utility. And I completely understand that the voting and money behind these donations have a much larger purpose than just the simple TLC of these creatures. And, obviously people, with the $5,000 did do a, vote, right? That wasn't just decided on by one individual. That was decided on their community of, people who were listening and decided to all pull together to vote. And that was the majority that won. So they put all that 5,000 into the Quetzal. But I just don't understand the logic behind that compared to some of the other creatures we have here on this list. Because if we are looking to make ASA's roster feel fresh again, right, or to revamp some of these old creatures from ASE and, give them some spice or some value here, I definitely think that we should be looking at forgotten creatures or creatures that literally nobody tames or uses. And I feel like the Carno is a much better fit here than the Quetzal is. So here's the question, what I want to know from you, all right? Do you agree that this Quetzal does deserve the TLC and the $5,000 donation will bring it to that #1 spot and get what everybody is wanting? Or do you agree with either me being the Carno or maybe even another creature? Let me know down below in the comment section. While you're down there, guys, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here on the channel for everything Ark Survival Ascended related and beyond. I've been Kodeations, and as always, guys, I'll see ya on the next one.